Hey everybody, welcome to the TT Buzzard channel. Today I'm going to show you where to get these lovely green evergreen trees, and I'm going to show you why you should get them at a tree farm versus a garden center. And you'd be surprised at my experiences from getting them at a tree farm versus a garden center. Let's see, they want to be out here during this. This right here is a Canaan fir, and if you were to get a Fraser fir, it would look very similar, but a lot lighter underneath the needle colors. They call that kind of the Cadillac of Christmas trees. You know, another example. These needles are soft too on here. They're not gonna poke you like, say, a spruce. This is a loblolly pine, but nonetheless the needles are similar on a white pine. But this is a Norway spruce. Hard to tell apart, but you can just tell by the feel, because the needles on the Norway spruce are gonna hurt a little bit when you touch them. Yeah, this is a white pine. These are soft and long needles. So when you go into a tree farm, you're gonna most likely see a spruce, a pine, and a fir. That's pretty much standard now, I think, at every tree farm that you go to. See the imperfection, see the natural beauty. Whereas if you did something like getting arborvitae, it's pretty much a standard in any box store or garden center. It's going to have a simple shape, and they're all going to look the same. Here's another example. This is another Canaan fir, but if you look at it, it's far from perfect. And can you imagine living in a world where everything's identical and everything's the same? I can't. And that's not a world I'd want to live in. And imperfection is to me a thing of beauty. And I actually would pay more for something that's not perfect versus something that is perfect, especially when it comes to trees and plants. You can see this here. Look how narrow that is. That's a Canaan fir. And traditionally they're a little on the narrow side, but it's not your perfect little Christmas tree, and that's not a bad thing. But all in all, when you go to these tree farms, they're gonna really cut you price breaks as far as buying a tree that isn't perfect. You know, they're just cheaper in general. Yeah, if every year you took a tree and planted it versus cutting it down, you'd have this going on in here. Now, it took many years and a lot of effort and a lot of money to get to that point, but I love it and I wouldn't change it. And I encourage, everybody to do this. A little slippery out here. But I would encourage everybody to do that, because plants are vital. Without them, we would not survive. They help produce oxygen. Yeah, you can get a lot of different species at your garden center that you probably can't get at a tree farm, and I'm guilty of buying those things. I'm a species collector anyways. But when it comes to buying certain trees like a Norway spruce, a white pine, white spruce, Canaan fir, balsam fir, Fraser fir is pretty much at tree farms only nowadays. I'm going to keep those trees in mind and get them at a tree farm. A little rascal. It just saves you a bunch of money, though, going to an actual tree farm versus your garden center. When you're looking at the cones, See how these cones are pointing upwards, standing upwards? See how those cones are upright? That's typically what the cones look like on a fir tree. Now your pine trees have longer needles and they're not prickly either. Now your spruces are prickly. Spruce and pine trees, the cones hang downward. So when you go to a tree farm, you can expect to see grow bags, ball and burlap. Here's another tree. This is a native hemlock. Not sharp at all, but it has very short needles. You're going to be able to get a variety of sizes at a tree farm too. Especially if it's, one, you can go dig up your own tree. So most of your trees at the tree farm are going to be measured by height. And garden center, they seem to just measure by pot size for whatever reason. That seems to be the norm. Get started here. We're going to get out to a couple of these tree farms and we'll see what we can get. There's a couple tree farmers. Actually, there's about 4 people I use now. And the reason I use that many people, I'm got to be pretty tight with a few of them. But the reason I use so many is they all have something different they offer. Whether that be a certain size or shape or species, and they all have different heights and widths, and I don't know, they each do things a little different, so I kind of know what I'm looking for when I go to each tree farmer. And I typically don't buy my evergreen trees at garden centers, and the reason why is these tree farmers, you can buy in a garden center for $300 or $400. You can get it for well under $100 in some cases by going to a Christmas tree farm. Now not all Christmas tree farms, there's only a few I go to because most of them, as you probably know, you got to go in and you get pre-cut trees or cut them yourself, but they don't, do the balled or burlap trees. But I got my people and I stick with them, and they usually cut me pretty decent deals. And I got a couple that really cut me some really good deals through the years. And one guy retired, got out. As near as I know, he sold his place to an Amish family. So he's out. But in the meantime, last year, I kind of got to know some of these other farmers a little bit better. And so anyways, most of the places, they got, your typical Fraser fir, Canaan fir, blue spruce, Norway spruce, maybe occasionally a white spruce. Some places have white pine, Scotch pine. I haven't seen red pine anywhere. But one place I go to, which is out here in Youngstown, and it's called Pioneer Trails Tree Farm. Last year I got a Turkish fir from them. So it seemed like the last couple times I've been out there, they have a new species that no place else is selling. So we're going to go out there, check it out. We're going to see what they have. And I'm going to swing by back up home to another guy. It's a little off the beaten path, but he's a nice old man, and it's a nice family. They kind of cut me some deals last year, and I'll go there to support them again this year and continue to build my evergreen empire. So I figure while we're driving, I got a ways to go here. I'll discuss some of these trees and what I like about them. And one tree is the Norway spruce, and you can see them up on the left here. They are pretty much disease resistant, and they grow pretty good, and they will actually go to seed and grow here right here in the state of Ohio, and probably anywhere else up north here. But it's a nice tree. It's consistent. You know what you're getting. And it's as sturdy as they come. And they seem to hold up really well in high winds. Now, our native white pine is a shallow-rooted tree for the most part. And they don't seem to, they start out looking gorgeous when they're young. And they just kind of whatever. They just start growing a different way. Once they get past a few years old, a little drought, a little too much rain, a little bit of whatever, wind, kind of shapes the future of them trees. But, you touch them and they move with ease. They're real, loose, and versus the Norway spruce, which is very firm. Now they both look gorgeous, and there's a couple things I'm sure out there that get either tree, and pretty much every tree has something. My go-to where I'm at is I like the balsam fir and the Canaan fir, which is basically the same tree. If you're not familiar, the Canaan fir is basically like a subspecies. It grows down in West Virginia in the wild, up in the mountains. There's a little native range, and there's an area called the Canaan Valley where there's several of them. But years ago, a few decades now, maybe a little longer than that, that became the hot tree around here. And all the tree farmers started going with it because it was the next best thing. And the only problem with those trees is they figured out through the years that the white-tailed deer absolutely love those trees, and they'll eat them, they'll rub their antlers all over them and make a mess. Now, I have a lot of those Canaan firs, and same with the balsam fir, by the way. But the Canaan fir is doing really well at my place, and part of it's, I'm sure I'm on a hill. They're not just going to walk up a hill and go for something like that. It's A, probably too much work. B, I have a lot of stuff that deer don't like the smell of. I've got, bayberry, barberry, boxwood, and there's a few others I'm sure in there that the deer, they don't like the smell of that stuff, and if you put enough of it around, they'll stay away. And my neighbors all get the deer in their yard. I never get them in my yard. It's been 12 to 13 years since I've seen a deer in my yard. So, anyways, you got to kind of stick with what's working. It might not work for everybody, but you got to kind of figure out what works for you. But I highly suggest going to these tree farms. But I figure while I'm off today, I'll go, check out these tree farmers, see what's going on this year. Just touch base with them, and I'm sure I'll buy something. So anyways, I went out to the tree farms earlier, two of the ones I frequent every year. I only spent $90 and I only bought one tree. But this is a balsam fir, actually Canaan fir, a subspecies. Pretty similar. These needles are a little larger than the actual balsam, but these come from a region down in West Virginia. But you see, the one on the truck's more pyramidal. It's more of a pyramidal shape, and then these are just kind of natural looking. So I kind of like the natural look better. Ah, friends, you want to play in the tree with me? So I got, this is the smallest one I got. Haven't decided which one goes where yet, but nonetheless, I do have to get one of them in tonight. But yeah, I think the culture's, you know, set with these tree farmers. They're all nice people, great people. You gotta think, you know, they share the same things in common as you do. This is your thing, buying a tree and planting it, and they raise them. Of course, you're gonna get along really well. But support your local tree farmers, and support your garden centers too. But you know, if you want the price break, wait around in the winter. All right, that should do it. Take care. See you on the next video. Thank you.